The view from where we sit is gorgeous, even if we don't fit inside your little portrait. The big picture is enormous, so we don't even have to fit. We after it, true purpose, yeah, we have to get. We mastered it, reporting it live from Black Pew, discussing politics, the culture, and laughing at you. Cause you don't understand the viewpoint, don't mean you up by a few points. You just ain't hip to these new joints we on. The world says to follow they pitch, we set the tone, then we knock it over the fence. Oh yes, it's gone. Them haters screaming loud from the bench. They get the bat and try to copy technique, but they miss the point that I mentioned earlier. I see that you observing the way I strangle this beat. Oh yeah, I'm a murderer. Enough of me, let's get back to this gorgeous view. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Welcome to the Black Pew.
To you and tell you to just kind of politely tell you to shut the fuck up, but with my words, you know, and I will. But if anybody has paid attention to me while this mic is on, if you speak with, so you know, like I'm about to sit back and let you do your thing. You feel me? Like anybody who's really had something to say, I'm about to let you. But if I don't feel like you saying anything, then I'm about to just let you.
He'll just
no, I'm not even about to let you. No, I'm not even about to let you get it out to. I ain't even about to let you get it out to how anybody else hear that. I ain't even about to let it get out to where anybody else hear that.
Stop you in your tracks.
Stop you right in your tracks. Stop you right in your tracks. I ain't even let it happen.
I don't do that.
But sometimes you've saved my tail for that though. Because I was going to go on a tangent I shouldn't have gone on, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to let that one go.
Get yourself canceled.
You bet. Listen.
I take all the cancel pressure. I take all the cancel pressure. That's
Please.
what I do. I take all the cancel pressure.
I want somebody to cancel me, too.
I wish somebody would try to cancel me.
I be wanting to get blocked on Facebook.
Trying.
You know, somebody deleted me on Facebook.
Oh, I got streamed. I actually got, oh my God.
I have something to say. Somebody deleted me on Facebook.
Wait.
What?
Talk in your mic. I can't hear you.
Speaking to the mic, Caroline.
I actually got banned for saying.
Can't
I
hear
actually
me?
got banned because somebody
Hello?
like some people were arguing, and it was a chick arguing with this dude, and I responded to the dude like, "Hey, bro, don't even worry about arguing with her. She sells pussy," and they banned me for that.
Really? Okay, so I have someone.
Like,
I have someone who's been my friend or my Facebook friend for many years. I seen one of their posts on Instagram and I commented on it. So I thought the post was, and I'll tell you what it was about, and I don't care, who knows. So the post was a picture of his girlfriend in a bathing suit, and the bathing suit had pictures of his face on the bathing suit, right?
Hello.
Okay, so and it was the picture of the back of her, right? Now, I have text messages that show him texting me a week and a half earlier telling me that if I will be with him, he will leave his girlfriend today. So I'm like laughing because you look silly with your tail on Instagram and you got picture and he has a do-rag on in the picture, right? And I post, on Instagram, I comment on it and everybody else is liking it and I say, are you being serious? Like, what is this tomfoolery?
I have a problem with that situation, and the only reason why is because those situations is what ruins it.
Marv, get closer.
Are we on air now?
No.
Oh. Those situations are what ruin it. Like when you're pursuing a woman, like when a dude does that. So like he's showing his ass. Like in reality, he got you walking around promoting him as you. But on the back end, he's, doing him with whoever. Put it like this. Lala Anthony is walking away from Carmelo and do so in good reason because their whole marriage, there was points in time where Carmelo would have with his response to women would be like, she's married, not me.
What?
Yeah. And now he's having a baby with another woman, while he was still married. And so when you had that mentality, so now when so just think, Lala, whatever, how, just minimize it. Don't take away all her money. Just look at her as a human being. When another man approaches her, her defense mechanism is set up because of what she's already experienced. So she's like, oh, I done had a dude that had everything, gave him the world still, and he still treated me like that. So what could a dude that can give me nothing do for me? And so that becomes the reality when it might be a dude that don't got nothing may cherish you more than a dude that have everything. But now your mind is conditioned to believe the opposite.
That's true.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And it doesn't help the situation anymore because it makes it more challenging for men to even approach or get, like, men don't want to. I'm sure you guys don't want to be jumping through all the hurdles of our past relationships and our past situations. It makes it even harder to pursue us. You know, I talk to guys all the time who I'm like, or I tell women, like, all you have to do is smile, and you kind of give a man okay, I can approach her, because usually if your face is all mad and it's all scrunched up, they're less likely to approach because you look mad and mean, and no one wants, That's true. That consistent, rejection anyway. But yeah, to your point, I completely agree.
Black Pew podcast. We just jumped in the middle of a conversation. Yeah, we were in the middle of a conversation.
Why are you talking like Kendra?
I know, right? I know.
You guys always got jokes. Or he's talking like he is on the
really
radio station.
She'd be like, how you doing? How you doing?
My name is Kendra.
I know. My name is
Kendra.
I was watching, what was I watching? Squadcast, and they were talking about if you had to whisper or talk in a high-pitched voice, like if you had to whisper everything you said versus talking in a high-pitched voice. I was like, I'd rather whisper.
Yeah, I'd rather whisper.
I'd rather whisper, like, because they were talking about, like, the Yin Yang Twins, the song, like, wait do you see my dad?
Oh, yeah.
Wait do you see my
Which was genius.
Right?
Okay.
It was.
Genius.
It was. For a song, it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the concept of it helped you kind of get your Playboy on. When that song came on, it was like, boom. You feel me? They almost was able, they was the wingman of all wingmans right there.
Yes.
Because that song would signify that you could whisper in a girl's ear all night after that.
Yep, that's true.
After that,
So true.
Yeah,
so
and then
true.
whistle while she twerks too. You can do that too. You can whistle while she twerks.
Twerk something.
They actually made twerking big. It really,
They did.
They did.
It was twerking before,
To the window, to the wall. If anybody plays that ever, I said to the window, to the wall.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna start.
Well, yeah. I was having this, because I post something on Instagram talking about a commitment thing, and people talk about marriage commitment, but they'll have kids with somebody.
I seen that. That was
and one of my comments actually came from that, from the window to the wall, because the only thing I think about is dudes just ski.
Oh,
That's it. That's your mindset. You don't think about nothing else besides ski. Now you got a whole legion of people, you feel me, from all the skeeting,
You didn't take into account what was going to happen afterwards.
I was going to stick to the windows and the wall.
Oh my gosh, really?
She swallowed it. Yeah. Sorry.
My sister was
Sorry, don't start.
my sister was like, what does ski mean?
Oh.
She was like,
What?
she's older than me. She's a couple years older than me. She was like, what is ski? Because she was saying it in the house. I'm like, what are you saying? I'm like, why are you saying that? She's like, it's just funny. Ski. and I'm like, you know what that means, right? And she was like, oh, what I didn't realize until recently was on Crank That from Soulja Boy, what Superman actually means.
You just learned that?
What does it mean?
That's
Yeah, because I'm like,
sorry.
wait.
You don't know what's to it?
Wait.
It's okay. If you
Okay.
if you
Sorry.
on the back of a girl.
Yeah, and then the sheet sticks on it. She's like Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
I never realized
that's how
that
they-
either.
Heat on the back of her.
That's how they
The sheet sticks to it.
or even just doing it
It
on.
was a dance. I didn't even
So
know.
did I.
Or
man,
even, I know.
And
It
I
seems
was
so.
even watching about him feuding with the people about the song. It was all based off of a dance. So I
Yeah.
never.
It seems so innocent,
Right.
but you're like, and
So does
they're like,
Old Town
why?
Road.
Keep listening
the
to
whole
it,
time
you're
you're
like,
like, we're like
geez.
singing
Well, Old
that.
Town
And they're
Road
like
has some
16
type
to
of underlying
17,
message
you
too.
know?
Yes, Old Town Road has an underlying message. They talking about sipping lean and popping pills. Like,
Yep.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Everything seemed innocent, but they really. I mean, Sesame Street seemed innocent. You know, everything. A lot of things seemed. Puff the Magic Dragon seemed innocent until you found
Puff
out
the
it was about
Magic
smoking
Dragon.
weed. It's
Sesame
like,
Street really got us to accept people's situations without
wherever
helping
they
to
were.
change them, because Oscar should have been
Snuffleupagus was
Oscar
gay.
should have been
It's
out
about
of
classism.
the
No,
trash.
it's about classism. He was never out the trash. That's That's what I'm saying. It's about classism. It's about keeping people in certain positions. So you're not going to take Oscar out the trash. Oscars are always going to have to be a trash. So that means that some people should always accept their position in the world, regardless of if it's the bottom of the bottom.
Because they also have a homeless character on it. And it was funny because I seen, you know how they had the PSAs?
They was wilding.
It was like last year before that, how to tell people to wash their hands. They had the different characters washing their hands, and they had the homeless girl washing her hands in a park with the water, like they had it on like it was on a jug on a tree, and she tugged it to let the water come down. And I'm like, why wouldn't they just put her in a place like Grover and Elmo?
Well, she's
tell them to wash her hands, but she's
they're
homeless.
being inclusive.
It's like we got sort of
stuff for them to go to.
But
and they have a tree.
Yeah,
I don't get the
imagery. Yeah, that's the imagery. It was just like, why wouldn't they, like?
I mean, they could go to a local YMCA or something.
I get that, but you may not have a YMCA membership. So like let's be real.
But they have it open for homeless.
Okay, because I have this problem with the opioid commercials, where it's like the text messages, and it's like, hey, you got some extra pain meds, and it's like, oh, free surgery. It's like, oh no, but you shouldn't do that. Is something wrong? Oh yeah, I've been down. Oh, you should talk about it. Okay, knowing that's not how the conversation goes. So I would respect Sesame Street from saying, you know what? If you homeless, you got to get innovative with washing your hands. You may need a jug on a tree with a string. You might got to go down to the river,
you may have to take extra steps into doing so, but still do it.
You may not have access to those things, so let's not be unrealistic on TV. Okay. Like TV is so unrealistic to a certain position to where it's like people start to believe in the reality. You can put a phone number on TV, 555-7676. People going to call that number asking for the character because we believe in that fallacy. So, yeah, sometimes you need to put reality in it and say, guess what? You may have to become innovative and wash your hands in this time because hygiene is very big. And if you living on the streets, you may not have access to all those hygienic things. So be creative.
True. That is true. But I'm like, come on, now get the...
I was seen that, so I'm about to look it up afterwards.
The Muppet. So it was a PSA.
Yeah,
it was a you gotta look up. You gotta look up PSA. Because I was just like, man, they gotta get that girl a sink. Somebody in one of their shops.
Well, I mean, they could have gave her like one of those fountains, you know, like a little penny fountain.
Or take her to the outdoor water park things that they have in the parks, like something like that.
Make-A-Wish fountains is more. It's like everybody can have access to the Make-A-Wish fountain. You know, like, everybody don't got access to a jug to put in a tree and a string.
That's why I was like, man, this is pretty inventive. Like, you could invent this. You could invent something to get off the streets.
Wow. But it's Sesame Street, bro. It's supposed to be about the streets. You feel me? It ain't about.
It's so funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he was like, I was asking him what he did. He's like, I'm a security guard at a hotel. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, yeah, I just make sure the homeless people don't get in the hotel. And I said the silliest thing. I'm like, so you mean to tell me that your job, they pay you to keep people who don't have a place to sleep at night,
to get away from people,
to get away from vacant rooms that have showers and beds? Doesn't that seem so backwards?
Yeah, it surely does.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate. All right,
for Mars.
So
you know that's what I do.
So if me as a hotel owner,
I mean I understand.
Me as a hotel owner,
on.
Me as a hotel owner. So if I start just giving out free rooms, word gets out that I'm just giving free rooms. Now my paying customers are well, why I gotta pay for this room?
So I get it logistically. I'm talking more so about our culture, like about our the way that we roll as a society, where we can have accessibility for to be in a room, to have a warm place to stay, but we'll say no because you can't afford it. I mean, it's kind of inhumane.
I mean, there's a part of it that is inhumane. I think we have the ability to house the people who don't have houses and to have luxury apartments. We have the ability to do both.
How many Asian people do you see homeless?
Oh, I don't think I've.
Not very many.
How many Indian people do you see homeless?
Not very many.
Not very many.
Okay. What you're seeing is a culture problem because it's not about corporations bailing out homeless. It's about us putting people into homelessness. So if you look at the culture of we'll look at white culture. We always look at black culture. We look at white culture. Most of the homeless people involved in white culture, guarantee you they were drug addicts. They helped them so many times. They've been through stints of rehab, all this type of stuff, too. They was like, you know what? Check this out. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of black people that are homeless, they turned 18. That's just, let's be real. They turned 18, things got real, and next thing you know, you robbing Peter to pay Paul just to live, and now you got a record, you know, and all these other things. So you can't get into the constructive community just like everybody else can, because you got all this dark gray cloud hanging over you, you know, and so that's where like the homeless. So it's a culture. I think that it's more of a culture thing when it comes to homelessness. We try to attack it from this aspect of everybody needs to do their part to keep these people off the streets, and I think that is a family thing. That is something that's a family thing. That's something that families have to deal with. And if you have the mindset of getting rid of people in your family and putting them out there to sink or swim, more likely to sink in the climate of this world, then that is that's something that, you know, I pray for you on. I tell you the truth. I mean, I know how it is. I was one of those
and
kids.
It's funny that our community, as impoverished as we are sometimes,
we
are very quick to bring our family in. We're very quick to not allow our kids to go far into the foster system, whereas honestly, the numbers for Caucasians are considerably higher, where their kids will go to. They will have the economic means. I've even lived the situation. They'll have the economic means, but will not take in their kids or family members.
And tell you something, we'll even do this. we'll even do this. And I'm gonna attack all them black folks out there to be like, well, I'll help. Okay. We even do this. You could come stay at my house for a month or two and try to figure it out. Go from 0 to hero in a month or two. That's what I expect you to do.
Can't even find a job in a month. It's hard.
No, tell me, no, time out. You find a job first day.
Yeah.
So you work the next day. Do you, in order to get paid, it's 3 weeks.
When you get check?
3 weeks to get your first paycheck.
For deposit, rent, lights to get cut on, because you know they want a deposit too.
Furniture.
Yep.
I just need a bed, just a mattress.
Yep.
I'm
for the time being, yeah. And then you got to continue to pay.
I still need to get to work.
Yep.
And I still got to keep the job to pay for the place.
And I still got to eat.
Don't let me have a kid though, because then we talk about daycare.
Yeah.
And then we really messed up.
And then they will have the nerve after when that time frame come up to say, you ain't done it. It's on you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's one thing when I first met Trey, that was one of the coolest things I ever heard said, was that the idea that we kick our kids out so early and they don't even have the ability to, they haven't built credit yet. They don't know nothing about an apartment. And you're so eager to get out there and like have everything. Like I had everything in my house, like already planned out. I was like, I'm gonna get furniture from here, but I ended up renting because I thought we should just have furniture when you move in the first 2 months. You know what I mean? And no one told me don't do that, because they're gonna give you $5,000 worth of credit at 1920, and you just make those mistakes, and it's just like kind of that perpetual cycle too. It's crazy. Because you don't get the, sometimes the appropriate training on what to do.
Yeah, right. I would say that appropriate training.
Gone out there.
Well, I mean, you look at the Asian community, they make sure that they are built, they got healthy credit lines, that they have great jobs, and that they have reliable transportation before they put them out on their own. They want to make sure that when they put you out that you're going to succeed.
But you know what, though? There's a trade for that, because though I wasn't like, built that same way, right, and kind of covered and all that, I don't also have family expectations. If I don't go to college... They
have family expectations. I think that's the big, like...
there's a huge responsibility associated with that.
Yeah, it's like either you are going to get a really good job and then start a family.
And you can't marry just whoever you want.
Yeah, I know, because I got one of my guys, like one of my homies is Indian, and his family's in it right now. He's 25, and they're giving him until 28.
Yeah, they're like...
figure everything out, and then he's on his own,
They're and like, so, let's go, yeah.
I understand that, but think of it like this. If you're telling me this is all I have to do to be positioned to succeed, you're more willing to do it.
Yeah, true.
So in the black community, we're telling each other, you need to go to school, get good grades, so you can get a scholarship or, you know, play basketball or do something so you can get a scholarship. We're not saying, you know what, check this out. Regardless on, like, you need to get good grades. You need to do all that. We'll help you in life. If you do all these things, we will position you to be able to succeed further from that. It's more saying you need to get good grades. You need to do all this because after that, once you graduate, you're on your own, and so you need to have this to be able to survive on your own. But we even see it in even some of our professional athletes. They don't even know how to deal with money, success, all those things because they've been given to the world in an immature state. Brand new adulthood, and they're given to the world with all this responsibility.
And there's people who will help them, but at the same time, you're 18, 19. You're not really. You're 18, 19, 20. When you get 21, 22, people start to listen a little bit more. But that 18, 19, 20-year-old is like,
nope.
I got $1 million check.
Yeah.
I got a long time. I got a long time to play, especially the NBA. Man, I got $1 million check, and I got somebody and they giving me food everywhere. I'm popping on the internet. You can't tell me nothing. So,
well, scientifically, frontal lobes close at the age of 24, so you're still learning like a lot between the age 18 and that time. If you don't have the resources or tools or even the support system to show you, then it is going to be difficult, but it's not impossible to do it on your own. But the support system, I mean, I have an 18-year-old right now who still needs me to walk through life with her right now through trying to build her credit, trying to show her, you know, how to make your own money, but also focus on your education and what you have to do. And according to the career she wants, she has to do a lot more than just attend classes. So, you know, there's that support system. You have to have that in order to do what you're talking about, Marv.
But I think sometimes, and I think our mistake in Black culture is that a lot of times we focus on the ones who were the anomalies. We focus on the Michael Jordans and look at the possibilities because of the Michael Jordans. We focus on the Obamas, and we focus on these people who are rarity.
What's it called? The model minority.
The model minority.
Model minority. Yeah.
And so we focus on these, and we hold them up as like, this is possible for everybody. And so I want to rephrase that because they leave a little bit out of it. Because one thing that we all have to understand is that it's possible for everybody, but it's not for everybody.
Right.
And so you may have the path to what we look at as ultimate financial security or ultimate success.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that the mass majority of people are going to reach that pinnacle. So what are we teaching people, everyday, ordinary people, how to sustain without having to feel discouraged from not reaching the heights of the model minority? Because that's what happens. You parade these model minorities and people look at that as the standard of what they have to reach. Now, understanding that most people aren't going to reach that status.
And there's a different path sometimes for other people, even though they're trying to get to the same destination. It depends on a lot of different things. So
I just believe that in history, regardless on race, when you go back in history, there's a significant few people that are pointed out as great.
Right.
And so if that be the case, we know that it is rare, it is few and far in between that you'll be on that pinnacle. So if that's the case, why are we teaching most people to go towards that instead of teaching people to be here, because what we realize is that people that are going to be there are going to be there regardless. Mm-hmm. Like, they'll look at this regular construct and say, I want more, right. And they'll go for more. But if we're not teaching people on this regular construct how to sustain themselves,
it's gonna backfire.
They're only looking at that, and when they don't get there, it's discouraging, mm-hmm. and they don't know how to get from where they're at. So now they're stagnant, right. Because they don't have confidence to move to the next level.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I
Sustainability
agree
is a big part of the process.
Yeah.
Stop it. You guys are not making for a good start. Somebody disagree with me today.
I ain't disagreeing with you today.
But was it? We want to switch gears to the what topic was it? It was I want to talk about Simone Biles.
That's deep.
Because it was a lot of people.
You need to pull up your notes there, Marv, huh?
It was a lot of people who came at her. It was a lot of support for her. There's a lot of support for her, but there was a lot of hate too. But it was so funny that the hate was from the same people. Some people had some jokes. Michael Che had some jokes, and he got backlash for it. But she, if you don't know, she withdrew from most of the competition because she said her mind wasn't right. Marv was saying because of the medication she was on, and a couple other things. And I think if you're in her position, which none of us are, none of us will ever be in that position. Like, I think the competitor and the people is like, man, I wish you would just push through. Even if you got a bronze, like, hey, man, you push through. But at the same time, like, speaking on her side of it, she's like, man, I'm not even in the right mindset. Mm-hmm. I can mess around and hurt myself in my career anyway.
Right.
And the next thing you know,
that's the end of her career.
That's the end of her career.
So to give you a little bit of context, because the reason why I actually brought this question up was because I actually watched the interview from Simone Biles previous to this Olympics. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with mental health. It had everything to do with how she performed. And she talked mostly about being committed let's think of Simone Biles and gymnastics. Like, as a man speaker, I'm not a gymnastics fan, but Simone Biles changed gymnastics. I mean, she has moves named after her because she's that risky with how she do. You big risk, big reward. She changed the game. Let's say that. So in order to take that, you have to be committed. You cannot pull out mid-jump because you can hurt yourself. Yep. And so she talked about that previous to this Olympics, how when she does stunts or does moves, when she's being risky, she has to be all the way in, and she can't pull out. She can't pull out. She can't pull out. But she talked about, even in that moment, how much her mind raced. So we'll take it to Tokyo. So dextromethorphan is banned in Tokyo. That's the ADHD medication that Simone Biles takes. Mm-hmm. So not only are you not taking it in Tokyo, but let's think about Sha'Carri Richardson's. You have to take a drug test going into Tokyo, which means you have to wean yourself off of the drug prior to Tokyo.
Yep.
Right? So anybody in their right mind who have watched Simone Biles compete in Tokyo, because I did, her landings were horrible.
That's why they were saying she was off the first of the
horrible.
Day or two. Yeah.
She was pulling out of her jumps, which means that her mind was racing at a rapid speed mid-jump. So she pulled out not because she didn't feel like she could compete at a high level. She pulled out because she felt this could be detrimental to her career. Mm-hmm. She could snap something, break something. She could hurt herself. Yep. And so it was a decision not only for her mental health, because we already know Naomi Osaka, all these people, they've been talking about their mental health. It's been big on a front foot when it comes to athletes. They've been outspoken about this, so this is not nothing new.
Right.
So we can't say that she just pulled out because she's trying to hold on to that. The fact that she's actually going through it and this is actually affecting her, she didn't want to have that on her resume. We could talk about it forever and say she pulled out, what could have been, what, but at the same time, I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her taking a step and standing on it and saying that it's her health is more than a gold medal. Yeah. Her preserving who she is mentally is more than a gold medal. And when you don't sacrifice yourself for that, bigger things are to come. So big ups to Simone Biles.
But I also think that as an athlete, I think if you are a competitor, I think in some instances I don't see it wrong for people to say like she should have stayed in. Like there's some people who were like, no, I feel like there were some competitors who said things about Simone, and I wasn't at odds with them saying things. Like I feel like everybody has a title to their opinion. I think some people didn't know some of the stuff behind it, so they were like, "Well, like you should still try to push through." And so I'm on the fence of that. Like,
it was reported first as an injury.
Yeah,
because, like I said, if you look, her landings were off. So a lot of times she was landing on one leg, and so there was one landing that she did to where they were saying it was like a leg or knee injury. And that she was being taken back by it. That's why she left originally. Originally, why she left wasn't the reason why they gave. The reason why she originally left because they were going to look at the structure of her knee from the landing that she had.
Oh, okay.
Later on, she came out and spoke about it because that's what I was saying. I put two and two together watching the previous interview because she, like I said, in a previous interview, it was years ago. She didn't talk about mental health. People didn't talk about it that much like that. She was talking about just committing to her moves and that if she didn't commit, if she pulled out, she was always telling herself not to pull out because pulling out could hurt her or be the end of her career. So she always said that, and then she said that 4 years ago. So now she's having these bad landings. The drug she takes for ADHD is banned in Japan. And then I put everything together. Well, in order to be, you got a drug test for Japan, right? Previous when you get there. So now these drugs can't be in your system, which means that you've been coached to wean off of this.
Right. So let me interrupt you there. That's where I'm kind of. Why would they have the Olympics in Tokyo when you have Olympians that are on ADHD medication and require them to still follow those guidelines for that state, knowing that's going to affect their ability?
Put it this way.
Why wouldn't, does she not have a manager? I would think there's just like the entire Olympics.
I hope you understand it like this. You minimize it to America, right? You get a job at we live in Washington. You get a job for a huge corporation that's not based in Washington. And you go through the background checks, all that. If they are in a state that's anti-marijuana, you're going to get drug tested.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. No, listen to what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. So regardless on how you feel, the headquarters of that company bans the idea of that ideology. So you're in a place that accepts it. It's legal. But a place that bans it, they're going to go by their rule because they have the last say so. So regardless on what we believe, it's in Japan. We don't run Japan. So whatever.
But that's the thing when it comes to different countries. Like, you want all these different countries to meet at one place and do what they're good at and what they're known for
to bring business to Tokyo.
But you want to.
It's not about to bring. It's not about to bring business.
Just about the business, but they're most definitely bringing business.
No, well, we're talking about the competitive. We're talking about competition. So I'll minimize this for you again. We'll talk football, basketball, soccer, baseball. When you say you play for the Seattle Mariners. or you play for the Seahawks, and you go to Denver, Colorado, Mile High Stadium. They train in high altitudes. Their crowds are rowdy. They got all that. You're at a disadvantage already because of where you come from. That's the art of competition. So that's why they always change the location of the Olympics, is because it's always to be able to change the idea of competition. So you have to adjust.
I don't really think that
You
that's
always
an
change.
unfair
You always
playing field.
Exactly. So you always have to have a neutral ground to where everybody has to be able to adjust to the grounds of what you're of what you're entering in. When people come here to play,
it shouldn't be like that.
No, but that's the way it is. When you come here to play at CenturyLink Field, there's a certain way that people practice because they know that they're not going to be able to hear each other in the huddle.
Yeah, but it's medication.
Regardless of what you say. Regardless of what you say, some countries you steal, they'll cut your hand off. It's not our job to tell people how to run their country. That's not our country.
But you're bringing our country. You're accepting our country.
It does not matter.
And our
So
person.
this is-
All right, it does not matter.
That
You
comes
still.
with the
It doesn't matter.
territory, and
You
it's
do not go
medication.
to another country
So
with
you're
your
telling-
laws. That's
so-
not how it works.
So you're telling me if you have a
You
medication,
do
I
not
that
go
you
to another
take-
country with your laws. Do not travel
then
with you
boom,
to another
she
country.
shouldn't have went.
I understand
See,
your
and, no, she
analogy.
shouldn't have. No, that's the thing. She shouldn't. But that's the thing.
Well, that's
She
her
shouldn't have.
manager's job, I believe.
Yeah.
If you know this is going to affect her abilities in the Olympics,
Yeah.
That's the conversation.
who is
She shouldn't have.
supporting her?
It's with the whole Olympics. If you know that there's somebody that is going to
against-
be defeated because
Right.
of something that they have to do, why are they even there? Why
Well,
are they
because
even
I
doing
believe
this?
that there
No, I
is
agree
routes
with
that they
that.
could have taken.
I agree with that. If you know that you're at a disadvantage because of the laws that are implied there, then it's like, hey, you know what? I bow out. You know, I actually think about it, and I wonder if that's why Michael Phelps eventually bowed out. You know,
Possibly.
because he became a big pothead, and he was so into that. It was like, you know what? I'm not gonna have to try to go through any of that. I'm already where I'm at. Don't even need to do it anymore.
I think it's just publicizing laws and regulations for other countries.
Yeah.
Like I do stuff like, you know, you can't ship guns to other countries.
Yeah.
You can't ship and if the US military is there or if the cops are there, that's the only way that you can get other things into other country. So they're literally publicizing what you can and can't do within their country. And I mean, I feel like the Olympics should be a what's that called where you picket? What is it?
Protest.
Yeah, it should be a protest. Because if you're telling me to come show my ability and you're telling me to come perform and do all of this, you know, compete, but yet you're not going to let me compete the way that I compete within my country, but you want my country to go against your country?
All right, now
Right.
this is where I defute with that. I defute that it should be because you think about it like you think about it in the Black Fist. They got stripped of their medals when they put up the Black Fist. Jesse Owens and all them, right? And so I'm saying when things like this happen, like the Olympics is not supposed to be neutral to anybody, and that's the problem with culture now, is because we believe that people should shift to our narratives or how we feel like we should believe. Yes, no. Before you get, I know what it's like in America, or it may be somewhere else. But when you leave the construct of the country that you in and you go somewhere else,
it's an invitation.
No, what I'm
You're
saying,
inviting me.
No, it is not an
hold on.
invitation.
It is
You
an
accept-
invitation.
Regardless of
The Olympics
regardless
are
of if it's an
inviting
invitation.
all these countries.
Time out. Regardless of if it's an invitation, you have the ability to choose on if Michael Jackson invited your kids to his house to come sleep in his bed, would you accept that?
But I think one of the things though is that I think.
But I'm invited.
No.
So I know the circumstances.
Of course. So you have a decision to choose.
I have a choice. Exactly.
But she decided to go.
I know. So that's my point right there. Let me
decided to
interrupt
go.
you real quick, Marv. That
You
is
can't blame
exactly
Tokyo.
But that's exactly.
You blame the person.
But listen, this
I'm
is
blaming the organization. Sorry,
Can you hear me real quick?
Yeah.
That's exactly my point. Who was the person that agreed for her to go? There has to be like some manager or whoever is.
Well, she qualified.
Is she independent? I don't know.
You have to qualify. I think that's the one thing that in this conversation that turns the knob a little bit, because you have the country that you're representing, you have the country you're going to, and you have the IOC. The IOC is the one that sets the rules for where
Which is
you're
an
at.
international
They're
company.
the international, so and therefore
they don't have ties to any country.
Yeah, the games are really
Right.
for peace. The
But
games
who
are
is
the,
speaking for her after
She
they get
is-
this knowledge
no,
from
she-
the IOC,
she
from
is-
the other
okay, but
country,
she
the
is.
invitation?
No,
to
all right,
say,
so
hey,
now-
I need this medication
Now this is
to
what
even
people
to
have
perform.
Now this is what
Who
people have to
is
take into
saying that?
account. Let's take this into account. That while she's qualifying, she's probably she's weaning the drugs out, but you have to realize that at one point the closest in qualifiers she has more of the drug in her system than she has before she gets to Tokyo. So the thing is
So that's
she
a bullshit
may
excuse for
no.
herself.
So what I'm saying is she might be a lot more clear-minded in qualifications, even though she's on the process of weaning it off.
but I don't
she
think,
might be
and I don't think they do that much testing
in the qualifications. Because you got to think about Sha'Carri Richardson qualified, and then after she got the test and said, "This is what it is."
Right.
So, like that's what I'm saying. Nobody's taking into account all that to the point to where now she's like, "Oh, I got to test. Like I qualified, so now we got to get this. We got to figure out how to get this drug out of our system."
Mm-hmm.
It's I look at the NFL.
Right, not even just to get the drug out of the system, but how come I cannot bring it to this state, to this country?
Because they have laws.
I
they have laws
understand
against
that,
it.
but I'm saying it's the Olympics. They have to have.
but
it
some-
doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
But if the IOC says, if the IOC is not, hey, let us bring
They didn't make
in,
they didn't make special circumstances
yeah, they don't make
for it.
special for
Because-
for
drug-
something
the
that
thing
she
is-
absolutely needs.
when
No,
you think
for-
about
no,
it, hold on,
because-
hold on.
her well-being.
You got every country in the world is probably is available to try to qualify.
Right,
Only
right.
certain qualify. So when you qualify, you get this invitation. We got hundreds of countries probably. So you make a special recommendation for one person. Think about
You
all the
make fun.
hundreds of countries you got to make a special recommendation. Nobody's looking at that, and that's where America becomes so selfish. We only look at how we want things to run in the world, and it's ridiculous.
Because
you can't go when you go on vacation.
get that.
When you go
But
on
I think
vacation,
that everyone should get it.
When you take
When
a
it
vac-
comes to
no.
medication,
when you get on a plane,
absolutely.
No, when you get on a plane and you go to Japan on vacation, you don't say, "Oh, I'm American and Japan has to change their laws because I'm coming." No, you're gonna end up in Japan jail just like
Right.
anybody else.
I
'cause you
wouldn't
break
go,
their laws.
but this
Like,
is the
but-
Olympics, though.
But the Olympics, so like,
Crazy.
take for instance, like
Americans are so spoiled,
there's some,
bro.
there's
yeah,
some,
they're
I
entitled,
can't stand it.
not
there's some,
spoiled, entitled.
Oh my
there's
God, I
some
can't stand that.
Olympians who
Crazy.
were breastfeeding. There's some
Yeah.
Olympians who were breastfeeding, and there were
Stand it.
some that had to leave their children
Take a mental second.
at home.
All right.
Dude, I need
they had to leave their children at home because of the standards were so stringent because of the IOC standards. Now Tokyo would let them bring their children in and let them be able to breastfeed or whatever, but there were some rules in the IOC that said, hey, you can't have that. And with her drugs, the IOC is probably like, that's not on our ban list, but at the same time, we don't want we're not we're
No,
neutral in this.
No,
and
time
then
out. Let's be real. They already pushed back the Olympics 1 year.
yeah, and then we're gonna do it again.
The IOC would have had to go to Japan. They would have to go to Tokyo and ask them for a special recommendation for this drug. Tokyo denies that. What do you do then?
Then
Simone,
figure it
hold
out.
on, hold
But
on,
at
hold on.
least you
Simone
try
Biles-
to do
Simone
something,
Biles,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
you pull out and then you.
Right.
That's what.
If there is no
hold on, time
answer,
out,
then you
time
pull out
Last
completely.
week,
But
what did
don't-
we have a conversation on how I told you that that money was going to be more important than the health of people. So look at what I'm saying right now. This is a perfect example of what I'm saying right now. I don't care about what it takes for you to be mentally healthy. What I need is we done already pushed the Olympics back. We need this money. We need this money.
Yeah.
So guess what?
The Olympics is
Figure it
moving
out.
forward,
And
right.
if you can't do it, then bye-bye.
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody, the Olympics ain't, we're giving support to Simone Biles for her standing up and being courageous and saying, I'm not going to sacrifice myself.
Right.
But the Olympics ain't saying, oh, Simone, no.
The IOC,
Oh, we going.
the IOC don't care.
No, they ain't saying, oh, we'll figure it. No.
I know,
Bye-bye,
I get
Simone
that,
Biles.
and I understand it
Do your
totally.
thing. We
Yeah.
need the money.
But yeah,
I hear you,
You're
but
right.
I'm still
no, you're
saying,
right.
like,
You're right
in the
saying,
background, things that they're not putting in articles or and on the news feeds or any of that stuff. What was there anything else that was done prior to her after she qualified?
You're right in saying their manager. Manager should have said, "Hey, you might need to," because that could have been a spot for somebody. I think that's the one thing.
Too.
I didn't agree. There could have been a spot for somebody else.
I think that is one thing, but this is where athletes see these managers work for them.
Yeah.
Right.
You're gonna do what the athlete gonna say.
Right.
So we're not.
So then, were there any steps
Simone
though?
Biles ended up there because she felt like she can
do it without the medication.
When she realized that she could not do it, she pulled out. You know. Okay. She wasn't there not thinking that she could do it.
Right.
But when she realized that this was too much for her and that she could eventually hurt herself,
right.
It was
then
like, you know what? It's not worth it.
Right.
And then she gave us the real reason to why she was struggling.
Which I understand.
Like True.
But again, what steps did you take before you got here?
I feel like there's different ways that they could have handled it.
Yeah.
Because
maybe you wouldn't have had to pull out had you made those steps and things were approved.
You can take other things into other countries, being an American or being a Puerto Rican or being an African or whatever. You can do that with the correct people. Yes. If I wanted to go, if I was in the military I wanted to take my certain weapons.
The story is that exact drug is banned in Tokyo.
However, Marv, she could have possibly made the steps. We don't know
but
that.
But she could have also taken another drug.
There's other ways.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's
too. Something in their place too. That's right.
To back out.
Yeah.
We only get a micro dose of these people's lives.
Right.
We don't see when all these people are saying, "Hey,
but you
check out. Maybe this ain't our year. You're young enough. Maybe we could wait 4 years."
Right.
There's probably all these people saying to her, but we don't take that these athletes are egotistical. Yeah. Like, let's not get that out of our head. Regardless of because I've been good. I've been good today. I've been shutting up. So what's that? Regardless of we see these press conferences, we see them talking and trying to be politically correct because they got PR people that are telling them how to respond to questions. Regardless of all that, we don't see their everyday lives. Right. We don't see the people that are probably recommending that they don't. Probably recommending that they take other paths, and them saying,
possibly.
I'm the best. Her saying, I'm the squirrel. I'm Simone Biles. What do you mean? Yeah. I'm going to go compete. What is the Olympics without Simone Biles? Yep. Like, what do you, like, come on.
But we're asking you because you seem to think that you have all the answers.
That's what I'm saying is like nobody takes that into account. Everybody's like, well, this and that, and maybe people was in her corner and telling her,
right?
But she's the athlete, she's the egotistical.
Do you think that's
got egos around her? They're protecting their egos because they can get fired by her.
Do you think that's a fair question though? Like, so was there anything in between? Like, now that she has pulled up, she was there representing America.
Yeah.
So a fair question could be asked.
But she holds the fate of their careers in her hands.
Right. No, which I get, and that was her choice. So she and it's her career, so it's her stance.
So at the end of the day, you're going to do what she says. You're not going to put... Right. Her manager can't go to the Olympics and say, I'm entering the Simone Biles in without her wherewithal. Like, no.
Right, which I understand that.
She has to say, you know what? We're doing this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
which is totally understandable.
She has the final say. So she ended up in the Olympics because she said go.
Right.
Not because anybody else said go. And they only did it because they get paid by her.
Understood. But... whenever you say a but, all the other stuff goes out the window. So there's a start and there's a beginning. That just seems like there's so much in between that's not being said, which is why I think it's a fair question. Had they or had they not, who knows? But I know.
But that's what I'm saying.
Feel
what I'm telling you is that sometimes you can judge a tree by the fruit that it produces.
Yeah.
Her ending up in the Olympics is enough said that she agreed with whatever was, even if they didn't go against it, even if they said, you know what, we need to compete, Simone, we need to do this. She had the final say so.
Right.
Because guess what? She ain't still there because why? She pulled out.
So you're saying...
No, what I'm saying is she pulled out.
And those drug lists are not, they don't just they don't change them year to year. No. They literally have the same drug, and then they might add one. Yeah. But she already knew. She already knew.
So was there any checks in to see if there's anything to supplement it? Was there anything that they did to check
She
with
just didn't
Tokyo
wanna
or
do it.
IOC, whatever. That's what I mean. Was there any of those moves
She didn't want
made?
to take any alternatives.
Yeah.
She didn't want to take any alternatives. But she wanted to compete, and that's what ended
So
up
that's
happening.
when okay.
And so that's what. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. The results show you that. The results show you she didn't want any alternatives. She just wanted to compete because she was Simone Biles. But like I'm trying to help you understand is she has a final say so because if she did not, she would still be in the Olympics competing right now because she made it into the final round.
Right.
Regardless of her missteps and those shaky landings, she made it into the final round. She could still be committed. Somebody's replacing her in the final round from USA. She pulled out because she said so. So that's when I want to help people understand the ego of these athletes sometimes, regardless of if it's a woman or it's a man. Yes, we see them in these press conferences because they have to be liked by the masses to be able to put the machine behind them. But that doesn't just these little microcosms of their life does not sum up who they are, and their angles are the way that they look at competition.
Right. That makes sense. And I mean, you never know. She could have. She went into it knowing that she couldn't do it with that drug, and that she was going to have to compete without taking what she normally takes. I'm not saying it was a publicity stunt, but it goes to show you that she wanted to show that they're not allowing me to do what I'm good at with something that I'm allowed to do in America that I'm not allowed to do here. I mean, I feel like it's just she knew the whole time.
I just don't think she
knew
took her
going
mental health that serious. I don't think she.
Not at all, because if she did, it wouldn't matter.
And this is what the reason I'm saying it, and the only reason why I feel like I can say this over y'all is because I watched what she said 4 years ago. And I listened to what she said 4 years ago. And ADHD was not a part of her conversation 4 years ago. But she talked a lot about what it took for her to compete. She talked about her mind mid-jump. She talked about all these things. So when I seen her talk about ADHD and the medication, I knew what was going on. I knew she was like, oh, well, the medication helps me deal with my everyday life, but I can flip still. Like, I know I'm an athlete. I can flip still. And that was her mindset. Not thinking that my mind will be racing so much that I'll be questioning myself mid-jump. You know? And so that is what really caught her. So I don't believe she took her mental health as serious as she should have when it was an issue.
Yeah, I don't think she did either. But we're gonna switch gears a little bit. We're gonna talk about Bill Cosby. I want to talk about Bill Cosby.
I love my guy.
About Bill Cosby, his post jail time. Are we gonna see him go out on tour? Do you want to see him go out on tour? Do you think he should just go home and fade out and die?
No, he needs to get his money back.
He can't sue them.
He can't sue him.
I don't think he should fade out and die.
I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
But do you think he's gonna?
You just don't touch people and don't give them
And
jello shots.
I also don't believe he was a serial rapist. So that's
I don't believe so either.
Yeah.
I don't believe he was a serial rapist. I don't believe in all that. I don't believe in the stories that were out there.
I think they regretted how they acted, and it was their way to say, "Hey."
I don't even think they regretted it. I just don't think that they got out of it what they wanted to get out of it. We're talking about one of the most powerful black actors in. We're not even just talking about black movies. We're talking about he was one of the first transitioning artists over in the white films when we look at comedy.
True.
You know? So he held the ultimate. I heard Lunel give an interview about how when she met Bill Cosby, she felt like she met the father that she never met before, and all she wanted to do was touch his hand. I'm talking about somebody else famous. Mm-hmm. That's how black people looked at him, at Bill Cosby in the acting world or entertainment world. he held the power to so many people's careers at the height of his power that a lot of people don't know. And we were talking about this earlier. I was watching the Fresh Prince. In that time, it actually transferred over into Will Smith, and a lot of people didn't pay attention to it at that time, and it happened right in front of our eyes. Because they were both on air at the same time. Yep, and one was going out of style and one was coming into style.
Yep. Exactly. That's why they brought they brought in Pam because they wanted to Bill didn't know how to reach younger kids, and there had been criticism of him that they were this black family that was, even though they were model, they were out of touch. They're a doctor and a lawyer.
He was crafted by the white man.
And they were out of touch so much that they were like, hey, we have to bring we got to bring Cousin Pam. We got to bring Cousin Pam in and that's why they got a darker actor because they want her to seem.
More
like relatable. I said, Will said it.
Huh? More relatable.
Yeah. But also they want her to seem urban, like more street. And she had her friends.
Yep. That's why I said Will took shots at them. On the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when he was like, "Oh, I heard the Huxtables are bringing in a ghetto niece," like because he knew that they were grasping at straws to stay relevant at that time, regardless of the fact Bill Cosby was powerful. So 30, 40, 50 years ago, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of women that were like, if I slept with Bill Cosby and put it on them, it might give me a hand up. There's still women doing. There's women doing that today. Like, let's not act like. And that's why I love me some Judge Joe Brown, because Judge Joe Brown said it like it is. He said, "Did we forget what a groupie was? Did we forget what a groupie was?" Right. You read the deposition of the actual civil suit. He wasn't saying he was spiking drinks. He wasn't saying, I popped a little pills and take. No, he said I was giving women Benadryls and Quaaludes. Now, last time I checked, when you're giving something, you can accept it or not. Yeah. Once you put them things down your throat, and let's be real, when we got two women here, I don't know how y'all feel, but I know me. If I'm about to kick, if you come in and kick it with me, let's put it in Bill Cosby's style. He came in, he was already in a robe. You come into his hotel room, you go to my hotel room, all I'm in is a robe. You taking drugs willingly and drinking?
And I've already been taking drugs myself. Yeah,
and it's just us in here? You think it's not about to go down? We didn't do this for no recreational purposes. Like, What did you think? And that's what I'm saying. Like,
that still doesn't mean that it's still a yes to do that. No. But yes, I see where the atmosphere is put. Yes, you still have a choice to go to this room in a robe and have him doing drugs and all. Where did you think that it was gonna go? That can be a question mark.
No, but I just don't think that a lot of them would say no to Bill Cosby at that point. Like at that point, you already said yes once you walked in the room. He was in a robe.
Well, not only in the music industry, but artists have groupies too, or in the entertainment world too. So
I feel like that's hard to respect. A woman willingly and knowingly going and hanging out with these famous people, knowing what you're getting yourself into, having other alternatives to what the plan was. It's difficult because being a victim of rape in high school, like knowing, I just got a letter the other day knowing that he's trying to get that off of his record, that he's a sex offender. It makes me feel some type of way. Mm-hmm. Even though, that was high school, I'm, in my 30s now.
You've got to live through it the rest of your life. But here he is trying to get something off.
Yeah, he's trying to get it off. But for me, it's like he came up behind me and grabbed me. And exactly. It was nothing of the, we're going to go do this, we're doing that. And then something else happened.
Right.
It was from the back, from behind, out of nowhere, this is happening, and by the grace of God, somebody came up and socked him in his head to get him off me. But at the same time, the women that knew and the women that didn't know, it's hard. It's hard to be on either side. It's hard to be on that side.
Now, this is where I believe that two things could be true. Now, this is how I actually looked at the Bill Cosby whole thing. I believe two things could be true. Now, you guys are women, and I'm pretty sure you guys have both hung out with a type of chick that then got like wild, and even as she's wild and maybe even blacked out, you may not even known until later she told you she didn't remember anything. So I can believe that Bill Cosby was kicking it with these women. They all got messed up. These women, to him, were coherent, consenting, but they didn't know it, blacked out. When they came to, they didn't really understood what really happened, so immediately you think that it was some dirty play. I could concede to that, but that doesn't mean that it was dirty play.
But that doesn't mean that it was his fault.
That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is when do we get to the point to where we stop saving people from their stupidity? Because nobody told you to go that far. Like, you have to understand your own limits. You have to understand when is no, when is stop.
That started with the not even just walking through the door, but also
the conversation,
the symptoms of the drug you're taking, and obviously conversation into whatever.
Yeah, they
going
weren't.
through.
Yeah,
so,
Quaaludes.
Even if you walked in, say you walked in, he in the robe. If you're not saying, Bill, what's wrong with you?
I know.
That's
Wait
what
a
I'm
minute.
saying.
What are we doing?
Like I'm cool
we're
with
supposed
being
to
here,
have
but
tea
maybe
and
you
you're
should
in a
get dressed or
robe.
something, pimp. You feel
Right.
me?
That, or are we
You
getting
know?
in the swim pool or a jacuzzi? Or, yes, there would have been
Yeah.
the immediate question.
Because
And you're coherent at that point,
Right,
Because
right.
you haven't even
Definitely.
walked in. No, nothing
Yeah.
is wrong with you.
Definitely.
And if it was, it's on yourself, not him.
Soberly, you've accepted the optics of everything. Soberly. In your sober mind, you've accepted the optics of everything.
Right.
Now, after that,
And then you're gonna blame it on.
Right,
He
which
did this.
I'm kind of in between on, not because you accepted the optics, quote unquote.
Well, some of them were like, I think some of
How
them
about
were.
if he didn't have no drawers on, say he didn't have his drawers on and his dick swinging, he got this robe on, and you walk in and you see that.
And your intentions
still-
are not that.
Right.
What do you
But-
do?
You
Turn
would've-
around and
you
shut the
would've
door and
left.
run?
Exactly.
You would've left.
Yeah, right.
But
Exactly.
if you stay
Oh,
after
yes.
that,
Right.
But I think
he like, what you
Yeah.
mean?
that's something like two. Yeah, that's something. Two things can be true. Yeah, because he probably was like he probably was like, I knew what was going on. You knew I was married. I knew what was going on while we were in this room, and
you still stayed, okay.
And
get
I
it.
didn't say anything about anybody. I didn't say that you did anything wrong. Like I think two things can be true. Some things could have happened and they didn't know about that they didn't want to. But I think also they could have wanted to sleep with Bill.
Let's change that.
Wanted
I
to
don't
do
say
all that.
don't want to, don't know.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this, when I'm reading this and I'm reading the character witnesses' statements and I'm reading the deposition, that a lot of this it was more of a foggy memory of what happened versus I didn't want to.
Right.
So some of them were like, I don't know. I woke up and I was naked. I don't know what happened. I assume that's what happened.
Yep.
But at the same time, with Bill Cosby, there's another point of Bill Cosby where he was saying, where they were asking him, did you know if some of these girls were high? And he's like, no, I didn't know. So that lets you know that there was a point to where even if they had blacked out, they were showing some sense of coherence to him. So he's thinking there's some cohesion between the two, that they're consenting to what goes forward, which is why he was the confused old man when everything was going down. Like, what you mean? What happened? I'm Bill Cosby. You just came to my room. I was naked. You took the pills. You drank the drink.
Yeah.
And you
that's
blaming me?
That's the thing. Like, when I was in college, you go out consenting to these bartenders and consenting to anything that anybody's offering you. You don't know. I could say, hey, this is a bottle of Jack. You want some? You say yes. Boom. You just consented to everything that's in that bottle.
Everything that's in it.
Because you have a
Regardless
choice.
of if I laced it or not.
Exactly.
You can say, you know what?
And now
I don't know you.
If they laced it and you didn't know and you're taking advantage of, then I think there's a case for that.
But then it's
right,
like,
so
I thought you knew. I thought you knew that I take this and I put this in there, and this is what I do.
But there's a fine line for that, because unless you're telling somebody directly, I lace this, there is a case against that.
No.
You cannot lace something,
hand
hand something to somebody
in
a bottle that is kind of giving it a mirage of this is what it is, but it really isn't that. That's a whole different story.
Okay, well, that happens all the time.
It does.
I mean, we watch commercials. We watch commercials. I'll tell you, the Big Mac at McDonald's don't look like it looked like on a commercial. Let's just be real. So,
God, I can't stand you.
I'm just saying, that's not. So we all grew up in the era where they told you not to take candy from strangers.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The reason why was
if the seal's
broken. Why was
I still tell my kids don't take candy from strangers.
The reason why was the real reason is they were drugging candy. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that because you don't know them, the probability of you knowing what's going on with that situation is very low. Yeah. So you're best not taking that. Yeah. So why when you become an adult, we gotta protect you from that when we've been teaching you that your whole life, to where you can go and somebody can give you something and and if you don't know them, but you trust everything that they're giving you, and now because you fell victim to that, we gotta protect you. Like, no.
Like,
we protect kids. We don't protect stupid grown people.
I think that there's
a fine line.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No, we don't protect stupid grown people.
Just because you haven't grasped that through
No, it's common sense.
Yes, it is.
Some people don't have common sense.
And that's not my fault.
Right.
It's not. So
But
that's why
at the
they
same-
don't.
But
My job is not to create. My job is not to create systems that protects you from not being in tune with your common sense. And that's what happened, is that we create structures that protect people from not having to think in common sense wise, for they could be idiots and they could walk around like chickens without a head cut off, and we protect them when that happens. So that's why Bill Cosby went to jail, because people did not have any common sense when dealing with a celebrity. So now their feelings are hurt because they weren't in A Different Stroke or in I Spy or whatever movie, or they didn't cameo on The Huxtables or The Cosby Show.
I think Bill Cosby went to jail because it was questionable. The rape trials were questionable.
No, if you look at that trial, that's my problem with it. When you look at the legal system, you look at that trial, there is no way that trial should have happened at all.
I agree to that.
No
there
way.
Wasn't enough proof to
that was the one time where our justice system showed how broken it can be based off of how the people who run it feel. All that
because there is more information for R. Kelly, and it took way longer to even convict him. So I do agree with
Bill Cosby was tried based off of how a judge felt.
That, and because he put in his own words something that wasn't supposed to be used against him. So, and it ended up being used against him.
Yeah, no, that was
time out. Because of how the judge felt. Now, the DA that had the case originally made a deal with Bill Cosby. When you're talking this, we cannot convict you for anything that you say during this civil trial.
Right.
Didn't they give the girl some money?
They did.
But they tried him on.
Because he openly spoke about what happened. So that was supposed to be sealed. The judge of this trial, politically, raced against the DA of that case. It was a bad political trial. I'm talking about they got low. Right. Bunch of bad things were said. They have a hate for each other. When he seen that the DA was the one who was on this trial, that's when he denied the motion to keep that deposition sealed. That deposition that should have never hit the court floor,
because it didn't have anything to do about Bill. It was about their own personal.
Every witness that stepped up, there was no charge. They never went to the police. So now you're just going off of he said, she said. They could have been anybody.
Right.
So this is to help you understand that this should have never, you can't compare it to anybody else. This is actually an anomaly. No, this is an anomaly in the reality. This is an anomaly in the justice system. Because even with clear evidence, even with motions, sealed documents, all that, a local court moved all that. That's why they went to the highest court in Philadelphia and it was overturned because it should have never happened. So that you don't really see that. You seen that 50, 60 years ago. You don't see that in the 2020.
Well, the system still hasn't changed. It's still broken. But I have a quick question for you, Marv. You're not an empath, are you?
What are you talking about?
You don't know what an empath is?
No, I don't know.
No?
No, I don't know everything. I just know a lot.
Oh. I thought you did know everything. Look at you.
I told you, if I don't know something, what I'll say? I'll say I don't know it. I'm not a man of no. I don't know everything. What is empath? Learn me today, Kendra.
Go ahead and look it up, Marv.
Oh my God.
You don't really show a lot of empathy for people.
If
they're wrong, they're wrong.
Tell you, all right. I don't. I think people, and so I realized that people who struggle to get where they at don't have empathy for other people because most people have had it better than their situation. See, in order for me to have empathy, I have to see somebody whose struggle was harder than mine because most people didn't. The day they was born, house wasn't burned down, and mom turned into a crack and heroin addict, and
so you would say
became homeless as an infant. You feel me? And was adopted and raised by strangers, and still don't like. That's you feel. So it's hard to have empathy for people who grow up in the idealistic structure of what we see as life.
Right.
It's hard.
So case by case situation.
It's a case by case situation. It definitely is. But I definitely have empathy. I'm a Christian.
I don't have empathy. I do. I have a lot. I have too much.
Yeah, I think I do too. But I've learned through knowing people like Marv to be more open to not being for those who do take advantage of you for your empathy. So that's why people like Marv are on this world.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause you can, yeah, people do take advantage and they will keep doing it. And use their lack of empathy against your.
Yeah, but he needs.
I have very soft.
I was gonna say, but he also needs a balance too with somebody in his life that.
I have soft spots. People get me all the time. I give out.
So
money.
what is your soft spot? What is your soft spot?
If I hear
Case
somebody
by case.
struggling, it's case by case. It's very case by case. If you come to me with a sob enough story and you need something, like for me. I know what it's like to not have that.
Right.
And so I eventually go into I'll help you mode, you know?
Right.
And sometimes that may set me back, but that's what I'm saying. Like I do have empathy, but I'm not gonna look at people who have more than me and be like, oh, I'm so sorry that you going through it. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, for real. Shut the fuck up. I'm struggling over here. You over here worried about what you give me some of that. Then we can see.
Go send him out there with Oscar,
you feel me? But as long as you got more than me, shut the hell up. Before I come in there and rob you of what you got, and then let's see how you feel when I start crying about it.
Oh Lord.
Be real.
Sorry,
I know that came out.
So similar to something I know I've heard in the past from someone.
I'm just saying. It's real.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in Black Pew Podcast. We're going to get out of here.
Oh, snaps. We got out of here in a decent time.
I know.
What do you mean?
It's not too bad.
I
don't know about that.
A couple light-skinned people here.
Oh,
we're all the way black.
Look, you're
all the way black.
Hater.
We're all the way black.
See y'all next week. Take it easy. Peace.